I'm Pastor Robert Nogalski, Victory Baptist Church, Clarkston, Michigan. We're doing another 10-minute segment here on YouTube, and just trying to help you folks out there and let you know that some of you that are out there searching for answers, you're not alone. And I want you to realize that we're more than just lab rats that can be controlled by the media and people in higher places, and you need to get some facts, and you need to get some things that are contrary to maybe what you believe, just so you can hear some things and be able to decide on your own what's really true. I'll be reading from a book, and not to insult your intelligence, you can buy the book later, but one chance out of 10 to 6,000 zeros after it is the probability that we have a divine book. Those odds no one would take advantage of. No one would try to bet against those odds. I mean, logically, physically, mentally, anything. You'd be insane not to think that it was something other than ourselves that produced a book. We're talking about the Bible here, and you need to understand that when that Bible is presented in the classroom, it usually is not in America anymore. And when it is, you get it in a philosophy class, a religious class, yet it is a history book. And because of prophecy, they won't put it in history, and because of the probability of it being true, they don't even cover it in mathematics. So really, there's a whole slew of spiritual entities and the devil that's working against you from getting the truth. Now, surely enough has been said to show that the history book, we're talking about the Bible, which the Creator wrote, is entirely in a class by itself. Its uniqueness does not have to be questioned, tried, tested, or proved, or disproved by any higher critic. No 24 German rationalists, or 36 French atheists, or 46 English deists, or 50 American humanists could compete with such a masterpiece. Not even if they pooled their resources and worked together. All 4 national groups are not even in the running. They have been scratched before they reached the lineup. The lineup was all lined up by the time Moses had finished writing just one book. One book, and that's the book of Genesis. Now God has proposed to write a history of His creatures, according to Acts 17:24-29, His offsprings. When it was finished, it was going to be laid alongside its competitors. Man's history of himself according to what he thought. Then all mankind could place their bets. They can bet on the book or else some other books. I mean, there are 23 million at least from which to choose. You find that in the Library of Congress. I mean, you're free. You're able to do that. The book is written backwards. What are you talking about? The Bible. God opted to put the emphasis in it on the end of man's history instead of the beginning. This wouldn't leave any historian any gap, exit, or loophole through which to exit if he said history is still being written. God closed written history where He closed His canon. At Revelations chapter 21 and 22, there can be no more history after that. So when the Most High writes, He zeroes in on the end time of man's history and proves beyond all implausibility that He had to begin His book after history took place. He had to inhabit eternity, Isaiah 57:15, to do such a thing. The material He then dished out to His writers, Edo, Jehu, and the son of Hanai, David, Moses, Isaiah, Ahijah, the Shulamite, Samuel, Gad, Nathan, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, so on and so forth, etc., was given to them after the author had seen the new heavens and the new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness, according to 2 Peter 3. He also had seen the occupants of the new hell, Revelations 20 and verse 15, as well as New Jerusalem. The new hell was called the lake of fire, according to Revelations 21:8. One shining example in the Pentateuch, 1500 BC, is Moses, as a writer, describing the regathering of the nation of Israel. When did it happen? 1917, 1948. And their restoration. That's AD 2000, 2007, or thereabouts. After their rejection of Jesus Christ, according to Deuteronomy 21:32. That would be, now listen to me, that would be a 3,500-year foresight on his part. I mean, that's some foresight. 3,500 years. Another joke that God pulled off on all the historians, was that he took advantage of their fear of man. Proverbs 29:25 and John 12:42-43. God knows all about higher education. Yes, he does. Knows all about these intellectuals. You can see that in Proverbs 18:1 and 2, and Isaiah 28:29, Luke 10, and 1 Corinthians 1-3, etc. They fear something. You know what they fear? They fear ridicule. Ridicule. Worse than they fear God or death. He knew that every one of them, in writing a humanistic history for unsaved sinners, would comfort them in their sins and assure them that every one of them was just as precious in God's sight, if there was any God according to them, as anyone else. They would lump mankind together, avoid all racial slurs. They would equate everybody with everybody else, alibi all their sins on lack of education and scientific approaches, and avoid judging anyone like they would avoid Ebola or AIDS. In short, they would make a liar out of God just as quickly as speak his name. Not one of them would teach that any book was superior to any other book, or that one nation was superior to any other nation, or that one man, 1 Timothy 2:5, Acts 14:12, was superior to other men. If they did anything like that, the educated intellectuals would laugh them out of court for their lack of broadness and objectivity. Their peers and mentors would deride them as fanatics or narrow-minded bigots. And to them, with their hypersensitive, codfishy nerves, that would be a punishment worse than death. It's amazing what people will do because of that. I'm telling you, when you get into this thing, you start to figure out that if that book is true, and why wouldn't it be true? Who told you it wasn't true? You say, well, man wrote the Bible, man lies. No, God allowed that book to be written. It was God's power behind that. It was God's words in man. It was God's direction of man. That's the difference, people. Is this preacher you're looking at. I was lost, hell-bound, going there, man. Faster than anybody could go there. I was full of sin, but guess what? When Jesus saved me, came into my heart, he changed my whole destination. He changed my whole future. That quick. You say, prove it. I don't have to prove it. I know it. I know it for sure. I know it because of the Bible, and I know it because of my life. What do you know? What do you really know? Going into Scripture, to add insult to injury, to add vinegar and salt to the open wounds of these poor, offended, depraved, man-scarred, stuffed shirts, any historian with an IQ over 150 and 25 years of formal education, God openly made fun of every one of them who had tried to match his history. Yeah, he did. History book by writing a history of man. You say, what does that have to do with anything? Well, that has a whole lot to do with it, because it shows you that God knew in advance, because he's God, exactly where it's going to end up. So when he gave us that Bible, when he gave us that Holy Bible, this old King James Bible, I'm telling you, when he gave us this book, he started with the end of man. He told you how it was going to end up. So that's why you're not going to add anything to that history. Archaeology-wise, you come to the book, you're going to find it's true. History, true. Math, true. Everything true in here. So why don't they approach it as such? Because you may start catching on. You may start figuring it out. There is a creator. There is a design. Don't let the media mush your brain. Stop being a lab rat. Stop being a lab rat. If you go to King James or KJV 1611, www.kjv1611.org, you can get this 1 in 23 million, betting on the Bible and its historical accuracy. You can go there and get this book. You say you're promoting books. Yeah, I'm promoting anything that'll help you through this thing. Try to get you to see. There's so much stuff in here using the Bible, strictly Scripture, and then showing you the years in advance it was, and then showing the odds with that. That you have to come to the conclusion after reading these things that this book was written by somebody outside our history, somebody that was above looking down and knew the end from the beginning, and that is God. God is there. God is here. God is everywhere. And you have the material, if you want it, to make proper decisions for your life and eternity. Thank you.